Yep, I'm here today to talk about 2021 Black Tuesday Grand Reserve. Really special beer, Black Tuesday, that is, I'm sure you guys know. But one of the special things about Black Tuesday Grand Reserve is it's our opportunity to flex our might with our barrel aging prowess. And I wouldn't say I'm famous for saying this, but I'd like to be famous someday for saying things like this. We take élevage very seriously here, and this is an example of a beer that was fine enough for release in 2019, but we decided to throw another bourbon barrel at it. So it spent a year in bourbon, it spent another year in bourbon, and then part of that was packaged to make Black Tuesday Reserve. But that wasn't enough for this beer. So then we took this beer after aging 2 consecutive years in 2 different bourbon barrels and threw it into a Copper & Kings apple brandy barrel for an additional year. So this has seen 3 years of barrel aging, 3 different élevage points within barrel aging, and using that apple brandy as a finishing cask in its last year. Very similar to the beer that was released in 2019, around the end of the year, which was using an apple brandy barrel to finish, but a little bit different than last year's beer that used a rye barrel to finish. And anyway, we really liked what the apple brandy did to the beer. We decided to do that again. And without further ado, I'm gonna open this thing. Whew. I tell you, it didn't really want to get opened. Now that it is, let's see how much of it we can fit into this tasting vessel. I usually like just have a little sip of this beer on a winter night. That's what I thought. I thought the whole thing would fit. So here we sit. So tasting notes on this beer. Aromatically, it's full of chocolate, bourbon, boy, and a little bit of apple brandy on the nose, although not very discernible. There's a lot of bourbon there, so it's not super discernible. But I've spent a lot of time with this beer, so I know it's there. There's something that always strikes me about using different spirit barrels and the age. I mean, oxidation is present, and I wouldn't expect anything less after sitting in barrel for 3 years. But it's a really complex nose with several types of spirit. That oxidation is playing into it. Black Tuesday always has, chocolate, a little bit of blue fruit on the nose. This one, has a little bit of like cola, has a little bit of a cola aromatic, which I find interesting. Not like a Pepsi, more like a Coca-Cola. The flavor, it's rich, it's deep. I think that these extended agings and the high alcohol seems to show a little bit more, perceived residual sweetness. I don't think that it's any sweeter than Black Tuesday itself, but it sure seems to feel like it is. It has a thicker viscosity. It's nowhere near one of our adjuncted barrel-aged beers, that is a real sweet stout that has that sort of viscosity. It's nowhere near that. It just seems to have more of a body than our normal Black Tuesday. But I'll tell you, this is a big beer, and I'm glad it's in a small bottle, and I'm glad it's in a big glass. There's nothing about Black Tuesday, and there's nothing about Black Tuesday Reserve or Black Tuesday Grand Reserve for that matter, that says I'm not food friendly. There's nothing about this beer that's like that. To take a beer like this, it's supposed to have such a big presence, and apply it to food is difficult in nature. Like it's just hard to plan not only a pairing, but any sort of multiple pairings around a beer like this. So, will it play with food? Yeah, it will. I think it will play with food, but that's not really how I see this beer. This is a special, unique beer. We don't make it every year, or we don't release it every year. We're in the process of making it every year. There's some years that we won't have a Grand Reserve release. So I think it's special. It usually comes out in the month of December, around the holiday time. So I think, if you've seen these videos before, you probably see where I'm going with this. Like, this is paired with family and friends. This is the type of beer that, it's probably best shared, says the guy who poured it all into one glass, but it's probably best shared with other folks, to talk about the way it smells, the way it tastes, it's high ABV, that in itself is a topic of conversation amongst family and friends. I know most of the people that I know that I share our beers with always want to talk about either the heavy-handedness or the finesse of that heavy-handedness. Creating these higher alcohol beers, creating super adjuncted beers, and what those are supposed to do. aside from create conversation, is, you know, create that sense of wonder and that sense of like, how do they do that? Why do they do that? When can I get this again? Oh, it's all out. Oh, you have to be a member. All these kind of things are kind of what plays into this mystique of Black Tuesday. So, you know, Black Tuesday Grand Reserve is no different. Will it fit in your hand at a party? Can you eat all the charcuteries? Can you eat all the cheeses? Can you eat all that? Yeah, you can. Can you have an ice cream cone? Sure, you can do whatever you want. You have a glass of Black Tuesday in your hand. But the point being, it's about more than just that. You know, this isn't a beer to not pay attention to. This is a beer that you open it up, it's an occurrence. And I have been told, actually I wasn't told this, I was watching Sideways the other day. And at the very end of the movie, I've never seen that movie, but at the very end of the movie, he takes like a 62, I don't even know what the wine, some French wine, some Bordeaux wine, and he takes it and eats it in a fast food restaurant or whatever by himself at the end, because the perfect time to open a perfect drink is any time you open it. That's the perfect time. So Black Tuesday Grand Reserve, it's available for the holiday season. I say share it with your family and your friends. Talk about it. Talk about the brewery. Talk about yours truly if you want, telling you to talk about the brewery. But either way, cheers.